Yo guys, what is up? It is Ramen Bangers Anime here. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the most popular anime series of all time, Bleach. So recently, like last week I guess, I finished the manga series cuz I don't want to sit and watch 300 episodes. I'd rather just read it. And the anime is not finished, so I'd rather just read the whole thing at once. And it was a really quick read, like considering it's almost 700 chapters. I read it fairly quick. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna be talking about it today. I won't spoil it, or I will spoil like the last arc. So if you haven't read the last arc, then I'll let you know, and you should probably click off if you don't want spoilers. But I'll just be talking about the first few arcs, and then I'll go into the Thousand Year Blood War arc. But before we get into it, be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video. And yeah, I guess let's get into it. So, Bleach, as I said, is one of the most popular series, especially in America. It's one of the big three. Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece are kind of like the popular ones, like the old school popular ones, I guess. Um, do I think that Bleach deserves this title? Honestly, no. I think there's probably a lot more anime that are better than it that could have been part of the big three, but of course it's about influence and especially in the West, this one was one that was pretty popular, along with Naruto and One Piece. For some reason, Naruto was the biggest out of them all. I mean, Naruto is a great show, but I think it had like the best airing time or something. Something happened with One Piece where I think it was because of the 4 Kids dub. It just didn't get the same like popularity spike that Naruto got, and I think Bleach was just the same thing happened. The circumstances were good for it. A lot of people started watching it in America. I don't think it's as popular as it is in America as it is in. Oh wait, what am I saying? I don't think it's as popular in Japan as it is in America, but that's just because of how big of an influence I guess it had on us compared to them. So yeah, as I said, this show, well, or I read the manga, but this is a good series. I'll say that, and I definitely see why people like it. But for me, it definitely wasn't one of my. Well, okay, I mean, it's not necessarily one of my favorites. I thought it was really good, but there were some times where I got really bored with it. But let's just start with the first arc, which is the Soul Society arc. The first 70 chapters or 20 episodes of this were really boring. It was all in the world of the living, so it was kind of just felt like filler. Like, oh, some random hollows show up, we gotta kill them. Oh, now there's another person. Oh, now they're at a graveyard. It just felt like the same thing, just over and over. But then the actual Soul Society part of the Soul Society arc hit, and from there it was just amazing. There was twists everywhere, reveals, good character development, good training arc also. I think it did get a little overhyped for me. I still don't think the Soul Society is a perfect arc because it just didn't have that like emotional high point that some arcs, like especially One Piece, always has. Like Bleach is a show about cool like power ups, and for me, I don't really care about that. I I just don't. So that's why I kind of felt bored with it at times. But it's mostly about how it looks and how kind of cool the power ups and stuff are. And like as you can see from pretty much all these images, they're all about fighting. And yeah, Ichigo, again, I should probably talk about him really quickly. He is definitely my least favorite out of the big three, just because I mean he doesn't really have much of like many ideals or anything. He kind of just fights to save his friends, which is good and all, but he's not a very complicated character. And he also has the biggest plot armor ever. Like I don't think he lost a single fight throughout the whole series. And although he did in the Soul Society, which is why it's one of the best arcs in the series, he did kind of lose, but he just came back and had a day long training arc or something and then beat him. So there are flaws with the series, a lot of them. I think Ichigo was is definitely not my favorite main character. He's cool and all, but I don't love him. I wasn't really cheering for him. I liked I liked Renji a lot more. I liked Toshiro. Honestly, I liked almost all the other characters better. Some of the other characters I didn't care for, but um, when Ichigo was on screen, I was kind of just like, oh, okay, he's here. But other ones like Renji, I was actually excited to see him fight. But yeah, after the Soul Society arc, when Aizen, like, his master plan is revealed, that part, I know that's why a lot of people love this arc, but I kind of saw it coming from a mile away, and not only because I got it spoiled. Like, the fact that he just randomly died like felt like, I don't know, it just didn't make sense that it would just randomly happen. And I knew that he wasn't actually dead. I mean, of course I had it spoiled, so it wasn't too hard to guess, but it just felt like I saw it coming from a mile away. And then and yeah, as a villain, I don't really care for Aizen that much. Like, again, he's like a bad guy, but he didn't have many motives or anything. I feel like in Bleach, not a lot of the characters had motives. I feel like they were kind of all just like a part of the series, just fighting, I guess, just fighting the bad guys, and the bad guys were fighting the good guys. Um, and the thing with like One Piece and Naruto is that both of the main characters, like, they make decisions on their own to do stuff, and they go out to do stuff. Like, Luffy wants to go find the One Piece, or if something's happening in like a town, he wants to go save it. Whereas Ichigo, he kind of just does whatever happens to him. Like, his friends get taken away, oh, now he has to go save his friends, or someone's attacking his village, now he has to protect his village. Whereas, of course, like Luffy, if there's a town in danger, even if it's not related to him, he'll go save it just because he wants to. And he sort of is more, he kind of drives himself towards his goals, where Ichigo sort of just lets his surroundings dictate what he does. And for me, that's kind of boring to watch. Uh, but yeah, and then the Arrancar arc happened, and this is where I almost dropped the manga, because it was like 200 chapters long, and it felt like the Soul Society but worse. It was just fight after fight after fight after fight, barely any plot. It was all that happened in the whole entire. This is, you can summarize it in like one sentence. If you already know what happened in the Soul Society arc, all you have to say is that Ichigo and his friends go to the bad guys' base, fight them, and then go back to their village and fight them and win. That's all that happens. It felt like 200 chapters of just fighting, which is, sometimes it's good, but it gets boring after a while when there's no real plot and not much character growth. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it felt like the Soul Society over again, because this time, instead of Rukia being captured, it was Orihime that was captured, and they had to go save her. And then, Aizen, which I don't care for that much, because he seems like he kind of just wants power, which is not a great motive for a villain. I mean, it's a very common one that they just want power, but like Doflamingo, he actually has like backstory that explains why he wants power, that like explains why he's kind of an evil guy. Whereas it felt like Aizen was just like, hey, I want power, I'm gonna take over the Soul Society. So yeah, I was very glad when this arc was over, because it felt so long. I mean, it was like half the series, and it was just fighting, and I don't care about fighting that much when there's no plot or anything to fight for. Like in One Piece, while the fights themselves aren't as good, they're more memorable because of the characters involved in them. Like Luffy versus Usopp. Like, that's probably one of the most powerful fights in the series, because they're two friends against each other, fighting for what they believe in instead of just fighting just to fight. And so the Fullbringer arc was next. This one was a short one, but it was a good sort of breather, because after the Arrancar arc, I was just bored with the series. But this kind of brought me back into it, taught me a new power system, introduced some new characters. Oh, and also, this series has way too many characters that get mentioned and then completely forgotten about. Like one of my friends says his favorite character from the show is Grimjaw. Grimjow. But to me, it felt like Grimjow was introduced as a bad guy, and once he was defeated, he was completely forgotten about. And same thing with Nell too. Like after she transformed or whatever, she was just completely forgotten about. And it wasn't until like 100 chapters later that I was like, "Hey, we haven't flashed back to her in a while." And I asked my friend. He was like, "Oh yeah, she doesn't come back for the rest of the show." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, he must have forgotten about her." But both of those characters did come back in the Thousand Year Blood War arc, which isn't really a spoiler because I mean they didn't do anything in the arc. But yeah, I'm gonna be talking about that arc now. So if you haven't read the manga, then I'm gonna be going into spoilers. But if it's not really that big of a spoiler, honestly, because again, it's kind of like the Arankar 2.0, where there's just a lot of fighting for 200 chapters straight. And this, I think, was better than the Arankar arc, because I felt like there was more of like a plot line, and like there was flashbacks, and I don't know, the fights I think themselves were better. Maybe. I don't really know. I don't really care about fights, to be honest, most of the time. But and then there was like training, and there was more world building, I guess, as well. So I did like this arc a little bit better, and I wasn't really bored throughout this arc. I thought it kept me interested, and like up until this point, I thought the series was like a solid 6. This brought it up to about a 7 for me. So yeah, my final ranking of the series is a 7, and I think that's pretty much all I gotta say. I won't really spoil much, just give some thoughts about it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video, and be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing, and I will see you all next time.